Hey, Binder TV, Jeff Jackson here again in Middle Tennessee. We are looking at my 1976 International Scout II, and this is one of the undocumented Patriots on Jim Allen's list. The Patriot was to commemorate the 1976 Winter Olympics, and International Harvester sponsored our ski team with X number, and I'm sorry I don't remember, it was a handful of these scouts that were red, white, and blue, patriotism, with a special applique on the side, which was blue and red. And then there were some other things that just made it a special ski edition truck. I'm sure if you read Glancy and Allen's book, The International Scout Encyclopedia, there's a great chapter on it. Anyway, it's not done yet. Of course, the top is still hanging over there in the top. I bought this truck in Tucson, Arizona 6 years ago. It had barely 100,000 miles on it. It has 109,000 miles on it now. But me and my friend Mike Moore, he owns a company called Scout Co. They're also a light line dealer. He's a very good friend of mine, and him and I flew to Arizona and we drove this truck home. And I completed a frame-off restoration in this shop. Mike was a great guy. He came down and helped me do a lot of body assembly, actually all the body assembly, and some other things too. But this truck was taken down to the bare frame and back, which everything's been rebuilt, redone, powder coated, painted, except for the motor. Didn't need anything except for gaskets. Very simple. But I wish you could have seen this thing along the way. No expense spared. This truck is a lifetime collection of mine of all NOS parts, reconditioned parts. Runs like a top. It's a 345, 4-speed. Other than the lift and the air conditioning system's been retrofitted, it's completely original. No GM, nothing on this truck other than all IH. It's very, very, very fun to drive, and it definitely gets the looks. I owned this truck for about 2 weeks, and then I let my wife drive it, and now I'm a former Patriot Scout owner, and my wife has a pretty little white truck.
It's hers now.
It's hers now. Yep. And she told me, actually, we may never put the top on it because she enjoys it so much.
That's pretty cool.
It's a great truck.
So how's it drive?
Oh, man. So it's got Skyjacker 4-inch lift. I got a straight steer from Super Scout, which has really improved it tremendously. Old Iron Off-Road did a cut and turn for me on the front end. I literally brought him the whole front end one afternoon. And it has Biltsteins on it that came from IH Parts America. This truck probably drives better than my Infinity. It's unbelievable how good and smooth. And again, it is very, very, very fun to drive. It's just a blast. And my wife likes it because she pulls into the gas station and everybody's breathing hard and they all want to talk to her about her pretty little white truck.
And so you're going to put the blue and red stripes on it?
Yes, I am, because it's a Patriot truck, you know, and I've had that thought of, man, it just turned out so nice, but you know what? It was born that way and it needs to be back on it. Got super lucky in this truck too, where it came from. No rust. Actually, when I had the body sandblasted down to the frame, or sorry, down to the bare metal, the guy who blasted it for me locally does a lot of work on these trucks for Doug Scott, and he bet me a $100 bill he was going to find rust in it, and I pulled in to get it, and he handed me a $100 bill.
No shit. That's pretty neat.
And it actually has less than a quart of skim filler in it too. I mean, it's never been wrecked. It lived in the mountains of Arizona most of its life. I'm the third owner, and once again, you'll never find them like this again, but I paid $5,000 for this truck and with a trailer full of parts, including a spare hardtop, and drove it home.
Now, what was I think you told me a story of the guy you bought this from?
Yes.
What's that about?
Well, so the deal was he was an Air Force pilot, and I still have his Air Force sticker on the back bumper. Great guy, super, super odd. He didn't want anybody just to buy his truck, and he'd been in a terrible accident and broke his back, and he couldn't drive it anymore with a 4-speed. So I remember calling him up And I located this just off Craigslist in Tucson. I happened to be in Tucson that day. And I called him up, and he's like, so you're calling about the truck? And I said, well, yes, sir, I am. And he goes, all right, so here's the deal. I'm going to ask you a few questions. And if you answer them wrong, I'm going to hang up on you. And then I'm going to block your number so you can't ever call me again. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. And he goes, well, first of all, it's $5,000. He goes, if you start talking anything less than $500, I hang up on you. I'm like, okay, that's completely fair. I'm good. If it is what it appears to be, I'm absolutely good with the price. And he said, all right, good answer. Second, how many internationals do you own? And obviously I have a problem, according to my wife. I said, I don't know. And he goes, wow, that's a really, really good answer. And I said, well, yeah. And he goes, and most important, what's your plans for this truck? And I said, well, if it is what it looks to be, I said, there's enough hot rod Scouts in the world, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But this truck deserves to be brought back to original. And he's like, man, you're in the top 5. He goes, you know what? You seem like a good guy, but there's, 4 or 5 other contenders. So I'm just going to write you down in the top 5, and you might hear from me, and maybe you won't. And if you don't, well, you didn't pass the test. But I'll get back to you if you're the guy. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So long story short, he called me back a couple weeks later. We had another light conversation, and then finally he thought I was the guy for this truck. And he actually turned out to be a really good friend. It is so hard to source rally wheels in America anymore. I found a set of rally wheels on Craigslist, and he was a good enough guy to go out and get them, skin off the old tires,
Wow.
and then he brought them to me at the hotel I was staying at in Tucson and wouldn't take any money for them.
Killer.
And I had already bought I was going to pay I was going to pay him, and he was going to pay the Craigslist guy. And he showed up, and he's like, no way, man. Just a really, really, really good dude. And then, of course, all my progress, I send him pictures. It's sad because he served our country. Just a really, Paul, I'm proud to own your truck, brother. Just a good dude, and he's still in my life.
What a great story.
True story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good dude.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for showing us this truck.
Oh, check this out. I got to say, too, Jeff Jameson did those seats for me, too. He's a IH guy up in Pennsylvania. Super, super good dude. I've had so much help with this truck. I don't even know where I'd start with all my friends. It's just, it's a gift to have great friends, and it's a gift to be able to work on something like this.
Yeah, Jeff does good work.
Well, thank you. I try. I'm just a hobbyist.
I'm talking about Jameson.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Scott Binder TV.